Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt. I am a little bit giddy this morning because I get to speak with this guy right here, Mr. Benjamin Davis. How you doing, my friend?
Matt, I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I am happy to be alive. I'm going to talk to my boys over here and see if we can turn on the video so you can see me the same way I can see you.
Matt, I love the Deering Acting Studio logo. There it is. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Dude, so how's ASU? How's life? Talk to me.
Great. Yeah. So I'll give you the pre-quarantine and the current quarantine situation with ASU. Really enjoy it. College it's an experience. You know what I mean? I think everyone that goes to college has a unique sort of 4 years, their own journey. And the past two have been great.
Let me interrupt you. Some of us have a 6.5 year story.
Or you love it so much you can't leave. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. But it's definitely been great, really rewarding. Couple tough classes, man. Tough classes, but we work through and we grow. That's what we do. And now, sort of being in the isolation chamber, as I like to call it, as the house, it's different. You know, it's definitely different. Not how I imagined I would close out my sophomore year, but you know, every sword has two sides, and there are positives to it. I feel, you know what I mean? You can extract some positives.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should go back, I think, and do a little history check on you and me, because how old are you now?
20 years old. Yeah, 20.
20 years old. And when did we meet you? Do you remember?
At 11. It had to have been like 11 or 12. It's been because it was seventh grade. It was seventh grade, I remember.
Okay.
Is when I came to my first improv class.
So we got to watch you grow up. I mean, it's been really, really neat. But what's funny is you were always this kind of powerhouse entrepreneur guy.
I suppose.
since I've known you, you know?
It's followed me. And that's sort of what, you know, I had to lean into the strengths, you know what I mean? Going into college, I had a choice to make between following passions versus what I think could be more conservative choices. I think is what the decision came down to for me.
Yeah. Wait, what? So you chose your path because it was conservative?
Well, because I felt that it was a little less risky. That's what I meant by conservative, in the sense where, well, there's still, a ton of obstacles and hoops to jump through. Let me talk about my major. Actually, let me explain it before I'm beating around it. So finance, obviously, what I'm majoring in, and then minoring in real estate.
Okay.
And while that field is, you know, obviously it's very work ethic driven, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Depending on what course you go, financial analyst, for example, if you're doing wealth management, it's a lot of hustling. But comparatively with a lot of the activities that I was involved in, you know, late in high school and really throughout high school, it to me was much, I suppose safer would be the term I'd label on it, which is not a great thing, of course, but it's sort of.
I mean, do you love it? Are you passionate about this thing? Oh, the hesitation, you guys. Did you hear the hesitation? Like you can hear a pin drop in that room over there.
Yes, I mean, you don't hate it. That's
well, that's what I want to do when I grow up. It's just something I don't hate so much.
Oh yeah, it's living the dream is what it is. No, there's a ton of positives to it. The people are great, it's been a fun common denominator of anything that I've done. You really run into awesome people wherever you go. But the work is a lot different than what I was expecting, I think, of myself. Let's look back where I was 11 or 12 years old, what I thought I was going to be doing at this point in time.
What did you think you were going to be doing?
You know what, to be honest, I don't know if I thought that far when I was 12 years old. I don't know if I was looking too far into the future. I remember in middle school and really early high school, very day-to-day, focused on what was going on right around me. But I suppose, you know, acting was definitely something that was huge in those years, those development years, from seventh grade up to junior year of high school. I was very involved in a lot of that. As you know, improv was a big foundation for me. Mm-hmm. And that evolved into a lot of musical theater, both, you know, with the high school that I was going to and in a more community setting.
So have you said goodbye completely to acting? Because I think you said, are you semi-retired? Is this what's going on?
Yes, that's the no that I said. I was semi-retired. I've done so in college. I have actually tried to engage this a little bit. I was a PA for a buddy of mine. He had a couple sets that he was working. He was the director, and he was like, "Hey Ben, I need some assistance." And I was like, "Keegs, I'd love to help you out." And so I did some PAing, which was honestly, it was really fun. A lot of demanding labor. I'm not a strong guy, and carrying very heavy boxes around with a ton of really expensive equipment was a lot of pressure for someone who's not doing a PA work consistently. You know what I mean? That was a fun realm to jump into. And then I did have a sort of, I had one extra role in this party that one of Keegan's friends, he was like, "Hey man, I need somebody Thursday night. Are you willing to come help?" It's like a party scene, dress casual. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll be there." And so
he's like, "I need somebody who knows how to party."
Yeah,
and you're like, "I'm gonna tap into my acting skills here."
He's going through his roles. Like, he's like, "Who can have a good time here?" Oh, Ben Davis, that's the guy. No, I had like one line, and I was knocking on the door. I had to like use the restroom or whatever, and there were 3 girls in the restroom. And the camera is like, I crack open the door. I'm like, "What's going on in here?" You know what I mean? And they're like, "Get out!" And I was like, "Oh, sweet, that was it."
And that's your claim to fame.
Hey, I mean, sometimes you make it off of one moment. And
of course,
you just ride
yeah.
But so that's really where I suppose the last in my collegiate journey, what my acting has looked like. I did audition for another film. It was actually I was auditioning for the lead of it, which was fun. It was cool. I wasn't really expecting for them to be like, "Hey Ben, come audition for one of the top 2 roles." And I was like, "Sure." But ended up not getting that, which was not too surprising, of course. And then after that I was really, I don't know, put the chips in baskets that I felt would be more compounding, if that makes sense. It was difficult for me to find a lot of avenues as a business major in those sort of creative fields in college, because you've got students for that. You know what I mean? That's what they're studying, and obviously priority is going to go to the people who are majoring in that stuff. So I definitely felt if I was going to continue auditioning, it would be almost a disadvantage, which, I mean, I'm not entirely uncommon with. I love an uphill battle, Matt. I love an uphill battle.
So are you retired or are you semi-retired? What's the decision here?
I'm putting semi-retired. That's the label I'm going to put, because if there was an opportunity that comes across my way where I'm like, I'd love to do this. I mean, that's then it wouldn't take a lot to convince me. You know what I mean? It wouldn't take anything.
Why is that? Because you love it?
Yeah, very passionate about it. It's, this is something that really helped cultivate who I am.
Mm-hmm.
My personal identity is largely due to the work that I did through Deering, through high school theater and all that. And I feel that there's just almost that part of the heart, you know what I mean? No matter what happens, there's always going to be a part of me that's like, yeah, I'd love to get on stage. I'd love to monologue or XYZ. So semi-retired in the sense where if the opportunity comes by, I'm taking it.
Well, in a lot of ways, you're actually doing the thing that I recommend actors do.
Really?
Weirdly, yeah. Because when actors ask me, hey, I'm going to go to college, what should I do? I usually say, take finance and business courses. Like, go major in accounting, because you're going to need to know how to run a business if you want to be an actor. Like, that's the truth. You have to figure out how to run your life, And I think that's where a lot of artists fall short, is they get very excited about the art part of it, but they're not willing to like do the business side of things, and so they kind of fall off.
It's you got 2 hands and you really can't operate without the other one. You know what I mean? It's financial literacy, and in that world, it's a whole. I completely agree. Everybody has to have an understanding. You know what I mean? To really go far.
So who knows? Like, you may end up going out making a ton of money in real estate, doing your thing, and then producing films. I mean, with some of your side cash, just residually.
And that's definitely the goal. Is I've always wanted to return to it and evolve it more than just a hobby, of course. But I think that when I was looking at it as a senior in high school, it was difficult because I had a ton of friends that they went out to like APU and ventured out to LA and all that California stuff. And part of me was very envious. I'm not gonna lie. Part of me was like, they are doing something that I was very involved in for years, and something that I had almost thought myself that I was going to do. And grappling with that was interesting. It's definitely interesting. But yes, at some point, it definitely just transitioned to being happy for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They get to live a life that I had wanted, and they're going to kill it and they're going to crush it. And that's, you can't be anything but positive for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing too. I always say this: we're all living our own path, right? Everybody, and I think the people who make the choice to try to follow in somebody else's path are the ones that usually end up disappointed. So I'm not saying your friends are going to make it, like they're going to make it. I'm good for them. But for you, don't think that you're not. Like you just have your own path and your own way of doing this right now, and like who knows. So I mean, I'm very excited for you, and I'm happy for you, and I respect you quite a bit. I think you're a smart kid, you know.
It's high praise, Matt. It's high praise.
Well, you know what? You deserve it. You deserve the high praise. And I know your minds struggle with some different things, and you fight the good fight like everybody else. But you got a good head on your shoulders, and if you can keep yourself focused, keep yourself motivated, and stay grounded and humble, you know, the world is going to be your oyster.
Yeah, and that's a topic right there, baby. That's a whole shell of oysters, you know, or bucket, whatever.
Well, why don't we open into it? Why did I hit a chord there? What's up?
Let's get into. Well, that's, you know, humbleness is something that, and the larger umbrella term, I suppose, is arrogance. Really, I mean, that was when I was a bit younger. I definitely had a hotter head on my shoulders. Currently, it's, you know, done a lot of personal development, had a lot of positions and roles where I've had the chance to evolve that. You know what I mean? That side of myself, because I had to. If I'm like mentoring high schoolers, I can't walk in there with the big head mentality. It's not about me, it's about them, really. But at a time it was tough. Yeah, I definitely was thinking and making a lot of decisions where it was an ego type thing. It was a very, you know, my pride will not allow me to either be vulnerable in this moment and have an emotional conversation because you said something in math class and I just really disagreed with it and hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Like that was, it was very immature and juvenile, I think, at a time with that dimension of myself. And that was probably one of the biggest things I had to grapple with for the last decade, really, is that maturity mentality. You know what I mean? Just sort of growing up and saying, you know what, that's really not, it's not what a 20-year-old would do. You know what I mean? That's not what someone who is mild-mannered, I think. That's a term that I'd label. Someone who's calmer. I don't know.
So are you still struggling with this pride thing?
Sure. You know, sure. I think it's a daily thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know,
perhaps for everybody. I mean, pride is a definitely, I think, lives inside everybody for sure. And then maybe it's stronger in some people than others, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely levels. And, you know, at this point in time, there's a lot. I mean, hell, I had a situation a couple weeks back with that. Brian brought up that high school situation. So I'm the VP of this thing called Hindsight. And what we do is we bring high schoolers onto college campuses, right? Mostly ASU, because that's where I go. And we just sort of hear about their academic, social, and like professional current statuses. And then we set attainable goals for them, which is great. I mean, there's some kids who made a lot of great progress this semester, and that was really rewarding to see. But one of the mentors and I got into the biggest argument because one session, a student came in and he was a freshman in high school. And he said, you know, I stole a wallet off a bus today. He was like, the wallet was just sitting there. I took it and I walked off the bus. And I was like, well, let's talk about that. That's a great conversation to have. Why, you know, what motivated you to do that? Did you take the money? And he was like, yeah, I took the money, I took the credit cards. And I was like, do you feel like that's ethically something that is, you know, good? Do you think that that's right? And we were talking in circles for about half an hour. And then eventually, you know, he opens up and he's like, you know, my mom needed gas money to go get my brother from the YMCA. And I was like, that's great. That's good. You have good intentions, but you're channeling it the wrong way. You know what I mean? So let's have this conversation instead. Let's have the conversation of, I want to do something good and help out my family, but I don't have the right avenue. Instead of, is it ethically wrong? Do you know what's, you know, right and wrong? Like that's sort of what evolved to. And so afterwards, I think it was a great meeting, but afterwards, one of the mentors came up to me and he was like very, very upset. He said, you were pressuring him and he was getting defensive and you were making him feel uncomfortable. And this is where my pride stepped in a bit. My ego was like, look, man, I felt that I needed to pressure him in order to get him to open up. You know what I mean? If I had just let the subject go, then where would we all be? Thinking that this dude is just ethically completely messed up and has no moral compass. You know what I mean? That's where we'd be. That's the conclusion that we draw. And my mentoring style has been carved out from a ton of different positions. And so me and this guy just really got into it. And we had to have one of the other mentors come and sort of mediate that conversation. And looking back on it, I mean, it resolved well. You know what I mean? We hugged it out and it was great.
Yeah.
But I really am not disappointed, but I think it's interesting how I still have those lapses. You know what I mean? There's still times where I'm like, I could have really handled that better.
So what would
But
you do? What would you do different if you could go back?
I would agree with him initially. I would say, yeah, I was making him a bit uncomfortable. You're right. I was pressuring a little bit, but I felt I had to in order to get to this great breakthrough that we had. And sort of handling it like, because we were almost at the point where he was yelling, and I don't think that that's ever conducive to a conversation.
Right.
So I think that would be the largest thing. It's just that level of communication was too high. Bring it down a couple notches. Have a more,
Yeah.
because that's where you get constructive type conversations, when you're both just talking and filtering things through.
Right. So if I could give some advice here, I think what's funny is I think you're right. So from what you've told me of this particular story about the wallet, if I would have heard the story, I'd have been like, good job. You killed it. That's exactly what you should do in that circumstance. You get to the root of the problem. And truthfully, I always say, like, the nice thing about acting is we can compare a character to our lives and realize that we're all capable of anything. So you asked me today, would I steal somebody's wallet? I'm like, no, I would turn it in. But if my wife and kids were starving, would I grab a wallet that I saw just sitting there? I mean, yeah. And would I feed them? 100%. That's exactly what I would do. And then I would work my butt off to try to pay that back somehow, some way. But for sure, I would find a way to put, food in my kids' mouths. Now, I wouldn't even do it to feed myself, but to feed them, sure. Mm-hmm. So to think I'm not capable of doing that would be not true. So right. I think you handled this guy really well, because you were able to bring to light the fact that he's just not a bad dude. You're not, you don't need the room to go, hey, this guy's bad, because he's got a circumstance and a why behind it. And yeah, so maybe he still shouldn't do it and he needs the correction, but at the same time, it's not like he was just like joyriding with this thing and going to Dave and Buster's,
He's not pulling Grand Theft Auto, you know what I mean? He's
right.
stealing wallets left and right. It was, yeah.
So then when you get confronted, so here's the problem: is you're gonna see this a lot, and I've actually seen you and me. There's been some comparisons that I've seen from the very beginning since I met you, and it's a blessing and a curse. Let me tell you, in a lot of ways. Okay. And so, you'll have a way of being able to speak that can help convince people of things, and that can be used for good or for bad, right? So you can be using that skill in order to help people better themselves, like you did with this kid, or you can use that skill to manipulate people. And when it comes to, say, girls or employees or certain things like that. And so you have to be very careful with the skill that you have, because you do have this thing. So in this particular case, let's just say you end up being right a lot of the time. So what's difficult is, because you're right, it's hard not to fight, because you're like, I know I'm right, like 100%. I know what I did was the correct thing. This kid's better off because of what I said. Ideally, what you do instead is you approach this thing from I don't know. And it's really hard. You have to check the ego. But somebody comes in and says, hey, I don't like the way you talked to that kid. That felt inappropriate to me. And instead of going, inappropriate, I just say what? You dial that back and you go, okay, this person may not have my skill of communication. They may not know, how to word this in such a way that it reaches me. But they saw something that I didn't see. Therefore, there's a way for me to grow. Whether I'm right or wrong, if there's a better way for me to deliver that information, I want to know about it. So then you get curious and you get excited about the critique, and that's how you can check your ego and actually double down on your own skill set and your own knowledge. Every time you walk into a situation where somebody confronts you with, hey, you're not doing this right, instead of reacting and getting tense, you say, okay, tell me about it, please. Like, help me understand where you're coming from, because I would love to get better. Like, please help me understand where did I fall short. And then as they sort of navigate, you'll find them actually going, well, you actually did this well. And I mean, of course, the kid responded this way. But then you get to the one thing. Maybe there was one thing. You used one word or you did one thing. And when you look back on it, you say, you know what? I do remember saying that word. I do remember I could have delivered it slightly different. That would have not made this other kid who happened to be sitting in the room feel uncomfortable. or that wouldn't have accidentally, degraded one of my teammates or something like that. Like, you never know what it is, but if somebody comes to you, here's what you have to think to yourself. If I came to you and I said, hey, you did great, let me give you a piece of constructive criticism, versus somebody else comes to you and says, hey, you did great, who loves you more?
Constructive criticism.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that if somebody's willing to present you with the information, is it easy for them? No. Do they think that they might actually get like hurt by you? Yeah. And if they're still willing to provide you with the feedback, that's where you have to start saying thank you. And then you can actually get to something where even if you disagree, it doesn't matter. You can still hear the perspective from somebody else and hear it from a calm place. Now, I'm saying this intellectually, okay?
Right.
And I have put this into practice in major ways in my life, and it has revolutionized my marriage, revolutionized our business, revolutionized every relationship I have. Having said that, I just spoke on the show about 4 or 5 days ago about how Joey and I had this big, ginormous blowout fight where we were yelling and shouting over a dish. So
Wow.
okay, I'm not one that is going to say that I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we got through that, I can tell you, and it sounds like you and your teammate did as well. But the way we got through that was masterful. Once we got to the other side of that thing, it was like boom. It was a prayer, connection, come back, apologize, connect. We both saw each other's side, and it was like this thing's over, and we both admitted too that it had nothing to do with each other, had nothing to do with the dish. It was literally just pent-up rage over like the coronavirus, and it was like, I love you, you're the person that's safe to me, so I'm gonna freaking unload.
Just gonna
on you.
toss it. Just gonna take the bag and dump it on you.
Yeah. So that's the advice, and whenever I can do that, I can tell you that has been an amazing, amazing thing. And when I haven't, I always look back and go, I should have done that thing. So
it's about losing that defensive mentality a little bit, I feel.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So remember, you're a very good person, and you're going to be making choices every day. There's going to be good and bad. The key is for you to learn from it, to really learn from it, to grow, and to listen to that spirit inside you that tells you what's right, because you're doing a lot of good things. When you go back to mentor, I mean, you're saying the right things, it sounds like. So now it's about how can you refine the delivery of that thing? How can you be humble? How can you be you?
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to try to be 30 or for you to try to be 40 or for you to try to be smarter than you are. You just need to be right where you are, because where you are is really, really valid, and there are people who need you right where you are. And as you grow and develop, you'll then be able to expand your reach. But right now, you have to focus on those people that are within your current sphere.
Yeah.
Cool, man. What else is going on?
Well, other than binge watching a couple TV shows, busting through some internship work. School ends in like a week, which is really crazy to think.
That is crazy.
It's not, yeah, it's like I said earlier, not something I was expecting on how to write out this sophomore year, in my bed with my accounting class next to me. But it was really, really interesting. And then
are you enjoying online courses, or do you just like extremely miss the classroom setting?
It really depends. It really, really depends on the class. Like for my Jewish studies class, big win. You know what I mean? This is great. This online course structure really helps with that, because it's just all discussion based. It's all reading articles and different Jewish literature. I'm not Jewish, by the way. But with something like my accounting class, it just does not compute. I don't know what, it might be a mental thing, but with subjects like that, where it's almost a completely different language in terms of that business sense, I really prosper a lot more in a classroom environment where it's in person. I've got the teacher right there. I'm physically writing out stuff. I can visualize and go, that's not right. Hey, what's a debit? What's a credit? You know what I mean? Like there's aspects where I definitely, and there's a focus thing as well. I've definitely had a lot of trouble focusing on the more important courses in my load with this online transition. This is bad. So for some of my classes, I'll log on to the Zoom thing, and then I'll fall back asleep, which is bad. It's not a good move. But I don't know. Yeah. I wish I out of words here at that action that I've been doing, because I'm like, I don't know how to, I guess getting out of my room, like it's a really simple thing. That's what it is. That's what this comes down to. It's a really simple fix. I'm just not doing it.
So
Right.
so what is the fix? What is it?
Instead of logging onto my Zoom lecture, 5 minutes, like waking up and then 5 minutes later rolling into my accounting class, still laying in bed, probably getting up, walking to like my kitchen table, and then setting up shop there, get the command center going. That'd probably be a lot more productive, I feel.
That'd be the first step. Yeah. So you did you have a good groove going at school?
Yeah, I had a really good groove.
So what's the difference? What were you doing then that you're not doing now?
Well, not waking up like 5 minutes before. I wake up, hour and a half before my
Why?
9:40 class.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, it's for me a mindset thing. I'm less groggy, right? I mean, if I wake up earlier, that means I get all of that out, and then I'm efficient when I roll into the classroom environment.
So why do you want to be efficient when you roll into the classroom environment?
Plus, you can learn. You can absorb as much.
Is it? Do you think maybe because you're also in public, because you're going to get seen? Because
oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%. That's also
there's an image thing attached to it. There's going to be girls around.
It's constant. Yeah, there's this
you
whole,
get ready for the day, and you've got the Ben Davis image that you have to live up to, right?
It's the brand. The brand can't be improved while I'm sleeping in my bed.
like looking at you, you look put together right now. Did you get up early today?
Yeah, I was up at like 5:45ish.
And you got yourself ready for this show, and you were, ready to go, and
I had some
good.
peanut butter toast, and then I had a coffee.
Yeah, because you look good. You look good, and you look alert. So here's my lesson for you. You need a better why. So what you need to figure out right now, early on, while you're a sophomore, because here's the deal. School could just go away, bro.
Right.
Like right now, we're all going to go back to school here, or everything's going to go back in about 2 weeks to a month. That's my prediction. But what if it didn't?
Right.
Then what are you going to do? And you want to think to yourself, right now, schooling, I didn't realize it, but whoa, how badly did I need this? Because school is actually the thing that's keeping me disciplined. My image is keeping me disciplined. The fact that I care about what people think about me is keeping me disciplined. You got to flip that, and you got to go, my discipline comes because it's who I am, and it can never be shaken.
Make it more internalized.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
So when you wake up tomorrow, it should be 5:30. It should be every day 5:30, and you have a ritual. Like, you should do that because you want to, for you, because you feel better. You should make your bed. You should do particular things that are going to be guaranteed. Then it doesn't matter if you work in your room or in the kitchen or wherever you're going to work. You've got this ritual that you do. You put yourself in a frame of, I've already been successful before I start my day. And if you commit to that, 100% commit to it, and it doesn't matter if I'm going to class or I'm working from home or if I'm sick, like nothing should matter. Nothing should take you out of that ritual. Like it's decided from here on, this is what I do. Why are you smiling?
I'm just gonna have to get to bed a lot earlier then.
Why? What time do you go to bed?
But not gonna lie, I had a little bit of trouble sleeping last night. I was up until about 2.
Okay.
So we're gonna bump that back to 11:30 if we're doing 5:30 a.m. every
For
day.
sure, but don't lie to yourself. Here's the thing. Look at your eyes right now. I mean, I don't know if you can see them, but you look great. You have plenty of energy. You're full of life. Why? Because you have purpose this morning. I talked about this yesterday. And you're like, oh, I went to bed at 2. And you got up at 5:30, and you're fine. You're fine.
That's a really fair point.
It's a fair point. And you know what's great? In the middle of the day, when you get tired, take a nap. Then wake up and grind some more. You know what I mean? Like, stop making this excuse of like, oh, well, because I went to bed late, it doesn't mean I didn't do this. And, I mean, I went to bed late last night too.
What time did you go to bed?
About 12:30.
Nice.
I brought my kids into work. After I went home and I already worked all day. Then I went home, spent time with my family about 3.5 hours, focused on lifting my family up. Took my oldest to work so that my wife could have a break. Let her go to bed, have some alone time. I'm working with the older 2 till about 12:30. Go home, put them to bed. Guess what time I'm up this morning?
4, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Yep.
about 4:15 actually.
dang, so close.
But I got up before my alarm. Now I can tell you, yesterday I didn't, and the day before I didn't. I was up super late, and different things hit me at different times, and I ended up I fell out of my ritual. So I ended up sleeping on the couch the night before with my son next to me, and I was trying to connect with him, and then the night before that, something else, something similar. But what's cool is my new like abnormal, if I sleep in, it's 6 and I'm pissed. If it's 6:30, I'm like, what happened to your life, bro?
Really?
Because I lost 3 hours. It's a game changer, bro. And so now there are certain things I'll never miss, ever. Never miss. And then there's other things that, okay, they come and go or this and that. But for the most part, that morning time is just a guarantee. It has to be, because it sets me up. So I'm telling you, this is the best thing you can do for yourself. And it's entrepreneurial training.
Right.
Because no one's going to tell you to go to work. That's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur. And I can tell you, I struggled with this for 8 years. Trying to figure out, how to motivate myself to get up, because I don't have to go to work. I don't have to. So I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it, so I just don't go, So then it finally dawned on me, like, dude, you have to create this like sense of crazy urgency on a daily basis to just live tomorrow, or else you're going to let weeks and months and years go by. So you're a sophomore, you're young, like you have so much opportunity, but this is a really big, it should be a big wake-up call for you to go, wow, I'm not as disciplined as I thought.
Oh, and I completely agree with that. Yeah, I think that's probably one thing that I've slipped the most in. And I don't know if I've ever really excelled at discipline, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I've never routinely been on top of myself, when it really climbs. Like, for example, sort of back to acting with monologues, when it comes to memorization, the practice that makes it, good from great. I can't 100% say that I always did that. I can't say that I always made that choice to, spend an extra hour and a half looking over the monologue, an extra hour and a half running the scene in my mind.
Ben, I know you haven't, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Okay, you've never been disciplined in your entire life. Today's the day you choose, and I know this for a fact because you remind me so much of me. Okay, here's the problem, Ben. This is the big problem. You're good enough to do really well without doing all the work. And it is a curse. You're good enough to give 50% effort and get an A-. It's a curse. Because you'll get an A-, you'll get all A's in all your grades, and you can just fool around most of the time and just kind of show up. It's a curse. Yeah. So you have to change your mindset and go, I not only want to do well, I not only want to get the grade, but I need to learn this, understand it, take this thing to the next level, really internalize what the heck's going on here with this material, because I want it for me. And if you get that, if you can really shift your mind in that way, it'll change everything. Because I'm telling you, you're good enough looking, you won't have to work out as hard as other people.
These days I'm packing on some pounds, Matt.
Well, you're smart, yeah, but your floor is like what it is, what it is, right? So you're smart enough, you don't have to study as much as other people. You're this enough that you don't have whatever. It's across the board. So you're gifted and cursed with this thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't give everything you have, if you don't push all the way to what you're capable of doing, you're always going to be a little sad because you're not giving your all. And I just know it from experience. I can tell you that I had done that for years and years and years and years, that I'm like, I'm good, I'm successful, like I have all this stuff going, but I know it's not my best. And that's a really bad feeling. So you do the monologue. Yeah. The monologue's a great example, because you can memorize in no time flat and do a pretty good performance, and you're charismatic just enough to get away with it. Yeah. You were always just good enough, and never as good as you were capable of being in that moment.
There was, thinking back on it, there was one time where I personally feel proud, and I think I operated near not near capacity, of course, but I really best of what I could do. When I was actually in high school, a senior, I don't know if we ever talked about it too much or about it to the studio, because at that point I was a little removed, unfortunately. There was this, I was president of this club called NDP Live, and what I did during that was I started a ton of different projects for that club. We did like live streaming sports. We had a late night show that I was the host of. I built the set for that over winter break with the his name was Ken Wilson. This guy's awesome. One of the coolest guys in the world. Fun guy to talk to. And he helps build all the musical sets. And I texted him and I was like, hey Ken, need a favor, and so he helped me just do this whole thing. Really rewarding experience. And after that, I mean, yeah, I walked away that senior year and I felt really proud, because it was leaving behind sort of like, set up that live streaming, set up the weekly announcements, set up the late night show. That's truly one of the only times in my life where I'm like, that was where I nailed it. You know what I mean? That's where I kind of opened up the, full reach that I got.
Yeah, see that, and that's amazing, because you left a legacy, number one, and number two, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter what you do or how good it is or whatever. When you give everything you have, and I'm talking you give 100% and then you give a little bit more till you throw up. When you get to that level of giving, you feel good. It's just a guarantee. Like, you're going to feel good and fulfilled because you lived up to your potential. So you'll never forget that moment, because that was one of those times when Ben Davis lived up to his potential, and you're going to go, you know what? I didn't even get paid. It doesn't matter. Like, I did something that makes me proud of, like, and that's the difference between being proud and having pride, right? So I can be proud of the work I did if I gave everything I had, and it was humble in the process. And you're not trying to, in that, I guarantee you, in that project, you weren't trying to be right. You were just like, what can I do? How can I serve? What can I do? How can I serve?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good distinction, actually. Proud versus pride. I don't know if I've ever really thought about it like that.
I don't think I've ever said it like that, but it is a good distinction. Proud versus pride,
Next book, Matt.
I know. I'm on my way to that. All right, so we got we've already talked about your motivation and things like that.
Sure.
The last point I want to talk to you about, based on your questions here, was this idea, and it's similar to what you were talking about earlier, but your idea of comparisons.
Yeah.
So you said you surround yourself with a bunch of really successful, high-level people, which you should, and then you're feeling sort of fulfilled and challenged by these people, but then you can't help but compare yourself to them at a certain point, and it sometimes it can be overwhelming. Yeah.
It's with that, it's a good when it's a great when it's good, and then a really bad when it's bad type situation, in the sense where when everything's going well, we've set up all these events and they're going super well, and they're like, hey, Jonah, that was really great. You know what I mean? And it's this atmosphere of consistent excellence, you know what I mean? And that's reflected in everybody. And I'm feeling like, man, this is it. You know what I mean? This is where I belong. This is the people that I'm supposed to be around at this current point in time. And unfortunately, there's weeks and times where, it'll be, maybe I didn't do too well on a test, or like wasn't really eating diet's a big thing, just on a way side note. So maybe I wasn't eating too well. I wasn't really energized. And then I look around at all these accomplishments that they're doing, and instead of seeing it as a look at how good we're all doing, we're all making such a great impact, it's and that's, I guess, it's conceited type reflecting it back on me. Like, I wasn't able to meet that bar. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to, I'm hearing about how they did on the English 302 midterm. Like, I wasn't at that level, and that's, when that was sort of what I was writing, and that was what it was in response to, is when it's going, it's great. But when I get those moments, it's pretty crushing a little bit.
All right. So you know the answer to this. I know you already know the answer, but the bottom line is, when it comes to comparisons, you have to stop, and you got to get over it, because they're always going to be there. There's always going to be somebody who's got it better than you in some way, shape, or form. So it's like, oh, this guy doesn't work as much as me. That guy gets to work more than me. This guy, he gets to stay home. This guy, gets to go to work. Like, it doesn't matter what the scenario is. You're always going to be jealous in some way, shape, or form. And so you have to just release that completely and stop comparing yourself to anybody. That self-reflection thing, you taking on accountability for your own stuff, is really great. Just don't take accountability for you in comparison to somebody else. Because the other thing is, you don't know. You only know what they show you.
Right.
So the kids at ASU, in the particular class you go to, they know the Ben Davis that gets up early and spends an hour and a half getting ready for class. They don't know everything. You know what I mean? So you don't know everything about these people. And so to compare yourself is almost to cast judgment on them and to decide that you know who they are. And, just because they're successful in one moment doesn't mean anything about you. It has zero reflection on who you are in any way, shape, or form. You want to be a leader?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you want to be a leader. Here's what you do. You learn to serve. And you do this, by the way, Ben. I know you do this, but you just commit to it forever. You become a servant first. I've coached many corporations, and they preach this thing called, servant leadership, and a lot of people don't know really what that means. It means getting down on your hands and knees. It means, I believe the leader, because you're the leader, you get paid more, but because you're the leader, you get paid last. Everybody else eats before you eat. You're the one with the risk. You're the one, like this morning, I can tell you, my time this morning, my 3.5 hours was spent cleaning the toilets, scrubbing the floors, and getting this place beautiful. That's what a leader is going to do when that's the thing that's the most important thing. So we're at a time right now where everybody's in crisis and this and that, and we're making adjustments. My team doesn't have to deal. I don't need them dealing with that. I don't need them thinking about that, but I need them healthy. So I'm going, okay, what do I do? How do I lift up the team? What's the best thing I can do? It's get down on your hands and knees, scrub the toilets, clean the floors, make sure that this place is pristine, and we stay healthy. And when you learn to do that on an ongoing basis wherever you go, and here's the thing too, you want to serve the people above you, and you want to serve the people below you. And when you become a master servant, because you're always going to be serving somebody, if you own a building, guess what? You're a servant to the bank. If you're a bank, you're a servant to the government. Like everybody's got a master, okay?
Right.
And it goes all the way up to God. He's the number one top master. So if you become an absolute servant to the people above you and below you, think about this. The person who serves the king, who is the king's number one servant, is the most powerful person in the kingdom. Jesus himself said this: if you want to be first, learn to be last. Learn to serve, right? It's all over the place. So when you grasp this and it becomes this internal compass thing, you'll stop worrying about other people. You'll stop worrying, especially people you love, Like it's one thing to compare yourself to a competitor, which that's not even good. But to compare yourself to like friends or people who you're around, like you definitely don't want to do that, And for us, what I do is I compare myself to people that I respect that are so far above where I am. So when it comes to our cleanliness around here, I compare myself to Disneyland. When it comes to the feel, the vibe, Disneyland. Yeah. When it comes to our technology, I compare ourselves to Apple. And so on and so forth. Like I have big companies that I go, okay, this is who we compare ourselves to. Now, and what's amazing is we fall short every day of those companies. Of course. Mm-hmm. Like, but are we am I jealous of them? No. Like I respect them, and I'm like, you guys are doing it right. You guys make your clients feel good. You deliver technology in a really great way. I just want to learn from you. You're awesome. Why would I compare myself to anybody else? I wouldn't.
Right. You think it's almost like a shoot for the moon, land among the stars type situation? Moon being like whatever corporation or standard that you're putting.
Yeah, I think so. It's like why would I try? Why would I strive to be anything less than excellent? I wouldn't. Like there's no reason to. But I'm not saying I'm not good though. That's the difference. Like I'm not beating myself up because I haven't created Disneyland yet. Yeah. I'm not beating myself up, I'm taking the win and I'm inching toward that. But guess what? As I grow and I innovate and I change, so do they. So
Continual. Yeah.
it's continual. It's a never-ending thing of you finding a way to love yourself, congratulate yourself, be happy with where you are, but never settle. And that's different than I'm feeling great, and then my buddy drives up in his sweet car with his hot girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, my life sucks, you know? And it's hard not to do that. It really is.
It's that mastery mindset, though, right?
That's
what
right,
it's all
buddy.
about.
That's right. Dude, I love you, man. We're going to have to wrap the show here because Brian's giving me all the cues. But,
Damn.
you are the man. Really, really care for you. I hope you just you keep staying committed and connected and, put love first. Find a way.
100%.
Find a way to get to God. That's your center, by the way, love.
I'm still waiting for my signature. I did. There's nothing on the front page. There's no Matt Deering name. I need that autograph, man.
Where'd you get the book?
Oh, Amazon. Ordered on Amazon. I think it's $17.99.
So I don't have the pre-signed ones on Amazon.
Really?
Yeah. So when you order, I don't have a way of signing directly to you. So here's what I'm gonna do, Ben. I'm gonna sign a copy here. I'm gonna mail it to you. That'll be your new copy. The copy you have right there, I'd like you to give away. Could you do that for me?
100%.
All right, cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Ben Davis here. I'm gonna give him a quick shout out. If you want to follow Ben, which I highly recommend. I mean, look at that hair. I mean, it's just unbelievably cool. You're gonna have to tap into his hairstyles. He talks all about his hairstyles on his Instagram. It's like all he does.
It's literally 24/7.
Hairstyle, like how to style your hair, how to whiten your teeth. That's all he talks about. No, Ben's gonna be a very, very successful financial man and real estate man. We're gonna probably use you, I'm sure, in the future sometime. You can follow him at I am Ben Davis. I'm Ben Davis _ on Instagram. And Ben is, of course, such a great guy that he said, if you're going to shout out anything, I'd like you to shout out St. Mary's Food Bank because they're doing some amazing work right now during this coronavirus. But really, they do amazing work all the time. I'm familiar with St. Mary's Food Bank. So, yes, please, if you have some money, if you have some ways to give right now, and hopefully you are giving, by the way, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling like you don't have enough, give. That's the first step because you'll automatically feel good in your spirit, and then you'll be telling yourself and telling the world and telling the universe that you are abundant. So give. Find a way to give, and the St. Mary's Food Bank is a great, great place to start. So thank you all for watching Mornings with Matt. This is Mr. Ben Davis. And
thanks, Matt. Love you, Matt. Thanks for having me
We'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.